Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's Thursday collective worship. Peace be with you. Well, this morning I want to start by asking you to do something for me. I want you to close your eyes. Don't go to sleep because there's a lot more to come yet, but close your eyes and I want you to think about going for a walk. I want you to think about some of the things you will see on your walk. So let's just be quiet for a moment, close our eyes and think about going for a walk. Well, I think that's probably enough walking for now, but just turn to the person next to you and share with them one of the things you saw on your walk. Okay, well, I'm sure you saw lots of things. You might have seen trees and leaves and sky. You might have had a walk on the beach and seen sand and water and waves. You might have been walking through a town and saw buildings and gardens and shops. You might have just been walking around your back garden and seen your toys or your fence or birds, anything at all. But you know, all these things have one thing in common. They were all created. And I believe, as a Christian, that all these things were created by God, because I believe that God is the creator of everything and that he made everything in the world. And when it comes to things like buildings, I know we make them, but we make them with the things that he has provided for us. And if he's provided all these things for us, all these wonderful things, then we need to say thank you to him for creation and for all that he has created. Now, of course, we can just say thank you, and that would be right. And that's what we do when we say our prayers, isn't it? We say thank you to God for the things he's provided for us. But we also can say thank you in the way that we treat the world in which we live, the creation that's all around us. And that's why it's important for us to think very seriously about some of the things we do, like the way we use plastic, the way we use water. If we think carefully about those kind of things and use them properly and use them wisely, and we don't throw plastic bags all over the place and we don't leave taps running, particularly when we're cleaning our teeth, and we don't go in car journeys when we don't need to, we're saying thank you to God by looking after the world and creation that he has provided for us. And you know what? The other good thing about the fact that God is the one that creates us and creates everything is that he's created you and me. And he knows each and every one of us. Because it tells us in the Bible, he knows all the sparrows. And you know, if he knows all the sparrows, those little tiny birds that he's created, and he loves all of those, then how much more does he love and care for each one of us? And that's certainly something for us to thank him for and to be thankful for. I'm going to share some words from a poem with you now. And it's all about God's creating the world. And it's called When the Time Was Right. God looked into space, but nothing was around. Just darkness and wind, not a smell, sight or sound. Then God said to himself, I think we'll have light. So the darkness stopped when the time was right. God made night and day, but they weren't the same. Then he made sea and sky, and he gave each its name. And when God saw the ocean, which was sparkling and bright, He was glad he'd made water when the time was right. Now God said to himself, "Now I'd like to see land. I'd like meadows and mountains and shores full of sand." So he brought earth from water and was pleased with the sight of the plants which all grew when the time was right. Then God looked at the sky and he found it too plain. It was all coloured blue and was filled up with rain. So he made sun and moon to change day into night, and the stars blinked their eyes when the time was right. God looked at the land and decided one day to put fish in the sea and make sure that they'd stay. He put birds in the air and they all shook with fright till God taught them to fly when the time was right. Then God made the animals, some small and some large, and soon he was asking, "Who on earth will take charge?" So he waited and wondered, till with careful insight he made man and woman when the time was right. Then God watched from a distance to see what they'd do with the world and its creatures, and with each other too. Sometimes they forgot what God had said, and they went their own way and do their own will instead. And it hurt God that people who he'd made out of love should forget how to live, what to say, where to move. Should he punish and hate them? Should he leave them to fight? No, he sent them Jesus when the time was right. Today we enjoy all that God's love has done and thank him for our world, for our lives, for his Son. And we sing songs of praises to express our delight at all God meant to be when the time was right. That little poem just reminds us that God made everything and that we can be thankful for it. So let's just be quiet for a moment. Dear God, thank you for creating the world and all that's in it. Thank you for giving us the joy and beauty of everything around us. And thank you for creating us. Amen. So perhaps this week you might like to think about ways in which you can go away and do things like saving water or turning the light off when you leave a room, or just not using that plastic bag, and see what you can do to say thank you to God for his creation. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.